the 3 knockdown rule on Triller is in effect. I'm Steve Kim, joined always by Mario MGM Grand Lopez. Good weekend there.
Thank you to the Korean Cosell right here.
I call it
Steve
the way it
Kimster, along with Tim Smokin' Frazier and Justin Buffalo Knuckles and Tino.
On the edits, we've got a lot to talk about.
Yo, it was Fight-A-Palooza this weekend.
Yes.
And we saw them together.
Yes.
You were literally sitting next to me. This fool was sitting next to me. We were watching UFC and boxing, and then he had college football on a laptop. I'm like, yeah, bro, you're embarrassing. Your attention span cannot spread that far out.
And we have a funny story about that day at your
more on that
palatial
later.
estate. This Saturday night from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, it was Showtime pay-per-view. And now the undisputed super middleweight champion of the world, Saul Canelo Alvarez, improves to 57-1-2, scoring his 39th knockout, stopping the game-tricky Caleb Plant in 11. Mr. Lopez, your thoughts?
Okay. As far as the whole evening, we're going to get to that later, but congratulations to Canelo making history, being what I thought was impressive in doing it. Look, I thought he went in there a little too emotional, loading up on his shots, still remained calm and calculated in his approach. What people don't understand is that he's a power puncher, but he usually sets up his punches. He didn't respect Plant enough to even jab his way in. Head movement and the bobbing of the whole torso, which we've explained, is so incredibly impressive. But he's a power puncher, but he places them exactly where he wants. He subtly gets inside your guard. His subtle footwork is great. He rolls, he slips, he counters hard. The trained eye can see it. A lot of other people may not be able to. They think he's either wasting movement or he might even come across a little boring. But my guy is just breaking you down, both emotionally, psychologically, physically. He walks him down, grinds him down, gives us that spectacular finish. Credit to Caleb Plant, who I thought was very well prepared, boxed very well in spots. Defensively, he came in a little sound. He never really leaned into his big right hand or leaned into his punches. It was a lot of little pity-patter shots that I guess maybe you could have given him some rounds. And I know the judging was, I don't want to say controversial, because there was no controversy. He obviously stopped him. But in the crowd, in the room we were in, a lot of people thought Plant was winning big. I thought he had won enough rounds. I maybe had him winning 4. Maybe could have given him 5 rounds leading into 11.
Wow,
but I'm saying
you're about to lose your Mexican card.
I'm keeping
there,
it real.
Lopez.
No, I'm keeping it real.
Wow.
Never did I say he was beating him up. I'm saying if you're judging it, Canelo never took a step back. That's what people have to understand. This isn't amateur boxing. It's professional prize fighting. It's who is inflicting the most damage and who is imposing their will and who would you say you'd rather be at the end of the round. That's how I look at the fight. Canelo looked like he just shaved. My man was cool, calm, and collected in there. We saw the way Plant looked. But again, to him, big guy, athletic guy, fast hands, fast feet. That always gives Canelo a problem. As good as Canelo is, cutting off the ring, he takes his time. I think he's so confident, he eventually feels he's going to get to you. But those issues don't make it look like he's maybe coming on as strong, or he may be a bit off. I also think that people, when they do a little better than they're supposed to, and then all of a sudden they're overachieving and they're sort of grading on a curve. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I thought Plant did box well, came in prepared, didn't seem overwhelmed by the moment, but was not committed to standing and ever trading with Canelo to really kind of inflict his damage, and you needed to earn his respect. I don't think he ever did earn Canelo's respect as far as inflicting any sort of damage.
Never punched through the target.
Never punched through the target. With that said, I thought he did make a good showing for himself. And Canelo, the way he was making himself small defensively, Plant, those big left hooks eventually caught up with him, and he did break through that guard. He wore him down, ended up with that big uppercut, and they stopped it. And I really love to see that he was respectful after the fight, both Plant and Canelo. They buried the hatchet. They talked about, and I love that he checked the interpreter, told him, no, tell him what I was saying, because he misunderstood the whole MFer in the press conference, and he took it wrong. English is a second language, but he told him, hey, he apologized to him. He went. I saw him go to the other team, All Planet's team, and shake everybody's hands. Canelo's a class act, a champion's champion.
At the time of the stoppage, the three scorecards, 96-94, 97-93, and 98-92, all in favor of the Mexican superstar. Mario, I had it more or less 7 rounds to 3. First 4 rounds, I had a 2-2. Maybe the 5th or 6th could have gone either way. But from the second half of the fight, I believe that the pressure and the physical exertion and also the power, what Alvarez has become is a slick pressure fighter. And in this fight, he did abandon the jab for the most part, trudging inside in the right hand, because he understood Plant was going to ride and slip with that punch, so he came around the corner. That's one of the ways you break that Philly shell, is to understand those guys in their sleep or with their eyes closed, they're expecting the 1-2 right down the middle. So you have to break that pattern and come around the corner, and eventually he chipped away. Pressure, bust, pipes.
I also feel that people, when someone does better than expected, they automatically think they're winning.
Yeah.
And they give them sort of the benefit of the doubt. And we were in a room full of people that I think were giving Plant the benefit of the doubt. But if you look at it subjectively, you're right. He did not cower. He tried to fight a calculated fight that maybe gave him some fits. And I thought Canelo fought with a little motion early on. But once he settled in, that was all she wrote. And I just thought he showed why he's on a different level above him and anyone else in that division.
Absolutely. And let's take a look at the road for Canelo Alvarez. This was his 4th fight in 11 months, December of last year. He wins his first belt, 12-round decision over Callum Smith. And then in February, mandatory defense against Avni Yildirim, knocked him out in 3. Then in May, Billy Joe Saunders broke his eye socket, TKO in 8, and now 11th round stoppage over Caleb Plant. The man is carrying the sport.
Literally, he's the best fighter and the biggest star in the sport. I want to go back to the judging for a second too, because it's funny because when we were watching it on TV, you gave him like 3-4 rounds. I gave him maybe 4.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 if you want to be generous. A lot of other people had it him winning right in the room. But it's when De La Hoya, who was at the fight, we saw him with
good
a shade,
seat.
And right there front row. I asked him, I said, how'd you have it? And I showed you the text. He told me 7-3, Canelo prior to the stoppage. When I asked Freddie Roach, who was at the Meldrick Taylor, Julio Cesar Chavez fight, he had it even going into the 12th round. If you asked him, fights are different in person.
Because you feel the impact of the shots.
You feel the impact. So what we may see at home and as opposed to in person, it is different. So I thought what Freddie Roach told me was telling regarding that fight, and what Oscar told me was telling.
Right. And as for Caleb, I keep hearing, well, he was boxing well. There's no doubt, but just boxing well or better than the perceived outing coming into it doesn't mean you're winning the rounds.
Exactly.
And round after round, one thing about Canelo, I agree with you. Early on, it got personal. He was loading up, and he decided, you know what? Let's just chop the tree down.
Yeah.
Let's just chop the tree down. And there's never a point, even when Plant would strike him with the quick counterpunch right down the middle, it never deterred Canelo for more than a second.
No,
look, if you were judging it like an amateur boxing match, Canelo Alvarez would have probably came in second place, got the silver medal. This is professional prize fighting, and he closed the show with an exclamation point. Mario, I thought the best two-way action of any boxing match this weekend took place on Friday night from the Virgin Hotels in Las Vegas on ESPN Plus, presented by Top Rank. And as Queen Latifah once said, ladies first, ladies first, ladies first.
Damn,
you know me.
Queen Latifah.
That's the second time I've mentioned her recently.
Dana.
For the IBF WBO Junior Lightweight title in a 10-round slugfest, Michaela Mayer wins a 10-round decision over Maeva Hamadouche in what was an absolute war. You know me, I'm not a big fan of women's boxing. By the second round on, I said, Steve, you better sit down and watch this.
That was one of the best fights in general. Men, women, regardless. It was awesome. It was like Morales Barrera with females. Gotti Ward, Castillo, Corrales. It really was. The lack of defense and I think the 2-minute rounds.
It helps.
Really helped. It allowed them to be fresh in every approach, empty the bucket in every round. That was great two-way action.
You know, Michaela Mayer is someone that I've covered since the beginning of her career. She's actually the first female signed by Top Rank to a full-time promotional contract. She's this tall, upright boxer, more of a Vernon Forrest type, and I have to give her credit. In the early stages, and I thought the judging was way off. It seemed to me like the results were predetermined, which was really unfortunate.
Right.
I thought it could have been a 6-4 fight either way. I did have Mayer winning. But early on, the first 3 rounds, I'm thinking, ooh, Michaela, you're either going to sink or swim.
Right.
You're getting drowned here. And you know what? She swam the Atlantic.
She showed some mettle. She showed some toughness. We know what she's made of.
And it's the type of fight that not only you win, you find out something about yourself.
Exactly.
And I believe Michaela Mayer now is at a different level just psychologically knowing, you know what? I've been through hell and back.
And she's got a whole new fan base.
Yes, absolutely. Great fight, though, by Miss Mayer. Mario, big weekend. Set your DVRs. Make sure you have everything recorded. Fight preview here on the 3 Knockdown Rule on Triller. The headlining show Saturday from the Honda Center in Anaheim, California on The Zone. Jaime Munguia takes on Gabriel Rosado. And then at the same time, it's Showtime from Phoenix. David Benavidez takes on late replacement Kyron Davis. And then that afternoon on The Zone from Sheffield, IBF featherweight title is on the line. Kid Galahad takes on Kiko Martinez. Mario, Munguia Rosado, I want to see once and for all. Let's see the continued progress of Munguia under the leadership of one Eric El Terrible Morales.
I'm intrigued by that fight. We're both going to be there.
Yes.
This Saturday.
We better leave it about noon.
Oh,
Traffic's
gosh,
a little
I know.
on the
Anaheim,
5.
What's a monkey wrench? Anyway, aside from that, Munguia, I think, has come along nicely with Morales, who was one of my favorite fighters of all time. I loved him. Just a perfect blend of being technically sound, but also the machismo, and he liked to throw down. An intelligent fighter. So I think he's trying to implement a bit of that strategy into Munguia's approach, because he was at first with Alcazar a bouncy, trying to make him a De La Hoya type. That it wasn't working for him. He's a little more Margarito-esque, but a little more athletic, I feel.
I agree.
So if you do a hybrid, and I think with more of a Morales approach, mix in standing square up, being a little more defensive-minded, punching in bunches, not necessarily bouncing in and out, darting in and out of your tone, being a little more flat-footed with those combos. I think that bodes well for him. We're coming off a very confident Rosado, who's obviously an experienced veteran, coming off one of the biggest wins of his career, knocking out Beck the Bully, who would have dropped him.
Right on his face.
Yeah, that was an ugly, ugly knockout. That was a major upset. So a supremely confident Rosado, who's training with a Hall of Fame trainer in his own right, with Freddie Roach. This would be a really good fight.
It's a barometer, and if Munguia should win this fight, he's number 1 in the WBO at 160. Enforce that mandatory position.
Yes.
Okay, look, you were already a world champion at 54. You've had 3 or 4 fights to dip the toe at the 160 pool or lake. Dive in there. Let's see what you have, because I believe with Demetrius Andrade, in looking at him against Liam Williams, I thought Liam had some moments late in that fight, and I kept thinking to myself, what if Munguia, who punches first and thinks later, gets in there with them? I'd like to see that fight. And as it relates to El Terrible, I spoke to him about a year and a half ago when he took on this assignment. He said, the one thing I've tried to tell Jaime is that it's not just about throwing a lot of punches. It's also where you throw your punches. Have a method to the madness. So if you're going to throw an 8-punch combination on the inside, make sure that one punch leads to another part of the body to set up the eventual punch you really want to land. I've actually seen a more measured approach, but I agree. Listen, as much as I tried to like what Alcazar was doing, and I like Robert, okay?
Sure.
At a certain point, he's not De La Hoya. You don't turn a square peg and put him into a round hole. It just didn't work.
Yeah, that's right. Then that's fine. The best trainers won't try to change you. They'll try to take your best abilities and traits and modify them to have a more measured approach, be more defensively sound, and kind of bring out the best in you. So they're doing 10 rounds or 12?
I believe it's 10. I don't think it's a title fight.
Wow. So that's interesting. Look, Rosado's a live dog.
Yes.
He's a big guy.
A lot of confidence right now.
A lot of confidence. This should be a really, really good fight.
And Mario, David Benavidez. It's interesting that everyone says that he's one of the world champions at 68. No, he's not. He lost the title again. I actually think Kyron Davis, the athletic kid out of Philadelphia, trained by my good friend Breadman Edwards, I don't think there's much of a difference in terms of caliber as compared to Jose Uzcategui, who failed a VADA drug test. Kyron's a pretty athletic guy. We know David's very flat-footed. In my view, this is a bit of an audition to be in that Canelo sweepstakes in 2022, is it not?
Well, Canelo loves a big name fighter. He's Mexican, comes with a good pedigree. I think a good following. He's an impressive kid. Those are some fast hands for a big guy. Fast hands don't necessarily give. Let's assume he looks good and he gets past his opponent. Fast hands don't necessarily give Canelo fits it's fast feet. Fast feet, great stamina, boxing IQ, good chin, being able to make adjustments. Those are the problems, or those are the traits that you need to have to give Canelo some fits. And even then, he still might figure you out, but at least you have a fighting chance. Ben, if you're going to stand in front of Canelo and be flat-footed, it's not going to bode well for you. A guy like a Lara Mayweather, a Plant, that
Demetrius Andrade.
Sure. Or like a Calzaghe from back in the day.
Yeah.
That would have been a really tough opponent because he's got fast hands and fast feet, boxing IQ, good chin, all those things we talked about. A Benavidez, I think it'd be fun, and he's a big dude. And I think he would pose some problems, but on paper, he doesn't necessarily have all the boxes that you want to check to give Canelo fits. But he is a talented guy, a tough guy. He knows how to fight, and he's big for that weight class.
One thing we have not seen with Canelo is him facing a volume puncher. So that would be interesting. However, Canelo may not be Julian Jackson, but this guy that doesn't have to stretch himself in sauna for 3 days to make weight, he's a pretty damn good puncher. I don't know if Benavidez has faced even a puncher at the caliber of Canelo. So,
well, not much have.
Yes. So, all right. So, we'll be back. More on the 3 knockdown rule on Triller. We come back. We wrap it up with Ask Mario and Final Flurries. And we're back on the 3 knockdown rule on Triller. Steve Kim, Mario Lopez. We go to the Ask Mario segment of the program. Here's a question from Mickey C. Guys, do you think Loma stands a chance of unifying the titles at either 130 or 135, or is he simply too long in the tooth at this point?
I don't think he's too long in the tooth, especially based on his last performance. I think Loma, my God, just prior to Tio, he was the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, incredibly talented, miles above everyone else, and we were calling him No Moschenko because fools were just straight quitting on him. So he had a very competitive fight where he didn't get the nod that night, but I don't think it diminished his standing in the sport at all. As a matter of fact, I think it might have lit another fire. He looked better than ever to me the last time.
Right, and he has a great chance and a great spotlight against Richard Comey, who I think, in terms of style and temperament, boy, it's teed up for Loma. Here's a fight I want to see, and it's not necessarily something that may be realistic, but they're both under the same network and promotional umbrella, and it would be a litmus test. Lomachenko against one Shakur Stevenson.
I was thinking about that, exactly. Who would you favor? I got to go Loma still.
So would I, because he's the bigger guy. He is the bigger
more
guy.
Experienced guy all the way around.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I'm going to ask Bob Arum if they're even thinking about that inside the offices at Top Rank.
Shakur's mentioned he wants to face him.
Okay. Well, look, at the end of the day, Teofimo Lopez elevated himself and squandered it, but he still elevated himself by saying, I want to shoot for the king.
Sure.
Right? Let's see if Shakur Stevenson is willing to do that. Here's a question from Watson. Did Caleb Plant look like a guy who wanted to win or survive? Mario, his style is his style, is it not?
Yeah, I don't think he was out there just to collect a check. I think it was the right approach for him to win. That was a great strategy he had. Just didn't have the power to get Canelo's respect.
At the end of the day, Pernell Whitaker, he looked like he was trying to start. No, he's a boxer. At the end of the day, with Caleb Plant, the one thing I thought was going to work against him, and it was true, was the lack of power.
Yeah.
People keep saying, well, Golovkin kept throwing the jab, right, but it was a power jab.
Yeah,
so
telephone pole
right,
jab.
so there's no way that Canelo could just come right through the driveway every single time.
No, exactly.
So power does matter because especially with Canelo, you better be able to dissuade him a little bit,
right,
or I think you're just going to get suffocated eventually.
Exactly, but he's an athletic guy.
Yes.
He's Plant's an athletic guy.
Here's one from Carlos Ortiz. Question for Mario. Mamadas, to me, means bullshit. The translator back in the HBO days said, don't F around as a translation to mamadas. As Plant mentioned it before the fight on Saturday. Did you catch that back then? So what is the true definition of mamadas?
Mamadas is like, don't come out with that bullshit. Mamadas. That he was right. He's right the way it's he's defining it.
You're bilingual.
No, me echas con esas mamadas. Like don't come out with that stupid shit.
That's always
a
debate among people that understand Spanish and English. In your view, how good is the translation for most boxing interviews? Have you ever noticed anything really egregious? You're like, no.
No, not egregious, but there are some that are better than others. I forget the translator from back in the day, but when it was on HBO,
Ray Torres.
He did a really good job.
I knew Ray.
So this guy was dropping some stuff, and Canelo, because he does speak, he chose to speak Spanish at that moment, but he understood everything he was saying. That's why he said, no. And then when he asked him to say, hey, listen, I'm sorry about, I misunderstood the mother effer, and I know he wasn't directly insulting my mom, language barrier. I'm sorry, I respect him and his team. And he wanted to make sure that the translator got that out to the people in the audience, which I thought was cool.
Ray Torres is a guy that used to be at the Montebello Bally's when it was Bally's before it was LA Fitness. Yeah. I knew him very well. He had one of the most famous lines during a Morales fight. It was like a grueling bout, and he just flat out said, the translation, put water on his balls. That became like a famous line.
I don't remember that one.
And do you remember?
I'm not surprised you remember that one.
Right. Chavez de la Hoya 2. Chavez basically said, no mas, right?
Yes.
He was in the locker room.
I remember that.
With Larry Merchant.
Yeah.
And Larry basically said, well, look, you've made a lot of guys quit. How does it, and like the way
he got pissed.
And the way he translated it.
Yeah.
And I remember Ray Torres like, well, and I heard it was an issue because Puerto Rican Spanish, it is a little bit different than Mexican Spanish.
It is.
The wording and the nomenclature.
Well, not only that, the slang is also very much different. We say menudo's a soup.
Yeah.
Puerto Ricans call menudo spare change.
Ah, interesting.
So it's a little stuff like that. But I remember he got pissed.
Ray was like, hey, and Larry
got pissed at Larry. Got pissed at Ray.
And Larry's just like this. What?
Yeah, exactly. That was the funniest.
And that was in the locker room.
Because Chavez is a very proud guy. You don't ever want to make him. He didn't want to think like he quit or anything. Wow. I remember that was funny.
Here's our guy, the only Sanch, your mama's side piece. Ask that Vato Loco Mario Lopez. Here's the first question. Who would be the ideal trainer for low-maintenance Virgil Ortiz? Surprising news that was reported first by Michael Coppinger. They have left Robert Garcia in the RGBA.
What's the real reason?
I was told, and they put out a video, Robert and his son Pita, that the night when they had to work Joshua Franco in one fight in Tulsa with Top Rank, and then Virgil when he fought Mean Machine, they had to make a decision. I remember doing a story on it for Snack.
Sure.
Robert Garcia said, look, Joshua's going on a road fight where he's still the underdog on a Top Rank show as a Golden Boy fighter, and I've been with him longer. I felt as though he needed me, and I sent my son and my father and Virgil Ortiz Sr., who plays a key role. I thought, okay, you know what?
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that.
I thought he did the honorable thing.
Yeah, that's an honorable thing. I don't see anything wrong with that decision-making.
I don't either. But the father said, nah, we want to be a priority. Well, here's the problem. If you go to Eddie Reynoso, there's some pretty big names there.
So it was a little like Jose Luis Ramirez when he left Freddie Roach because the stable got a little too... It's a similar situation.
Right.
Not necessarily something bad happened. Right. It was just about getting more attention.
Right. Then when that news came out, because I know Pita very well.
Interesting.
Okay, he's in the gym every day with his father. They said, Steve, we're going to put out a video. And the video actually laid out a real good case. Like, look, Mario, when you go to a world-class trainer, you have to expect one thing. Unless you're Muhammad Ali, you're going to share trainers. I've seen where Manny Pacquiao was not with Freddie Roach on certain days in training because he was working other fights.
Right.
And I hate to say it, but I think Robert Garcia got punished for doing the right thing. Because if you're Joshua Franco and you know you're in a 50-50 fight that ended in controversy with the headbutt and the eye, that fight with the instant replay, I think psychologically fighters need to know that, hey, I'm with you. Don't worry about it. You're not in this alone.
I agree with you. He did the honorable thing, and then maybe Ortiz just feels he needs a little bit more time and focus on him. So I don't think it's unfortunate because it seemed to be a nice combination that was progressing well. But I guess as you elevate and start to...
You want to be a priority.
You want to be a priority.
Well, Mario, here's the issue, though. And I love Eddie Reynoso. He's done a great job. Maybe the trainer of the year. Again, you got Canelo, Oscar Valdez. Sometimes you have Ryan Garcia. You have Andy Ruiz. You have Frank Sanchez. Kind of crowded parking lot there.
The thing about that I do like it there, because Canelo's leading the charge, he sets a real positive
talked about that
climate that I think everyone just thrives off of. It's interesting because Ortiz is not too much heavier than Garcia, too. And I know Garcia was posting pictures that he was there, so I guess all is well. There it doesn't look. Do you think Ryan would have an issue with that? They're not at the same weight class at the moment.
Yeah, but Virgil's going to move up to 54 soon, though. He's bursting at the scene. Yes. Okay. I think he's going to win a belt like Boots and then elevate to 54.
Okay, because if he were to stay, it's not too bad. So listen, he's an excellent trainer, and he's done a great job with guys. So that's atmosphere.
That is funny though.
Is it official?
They have said we have announced nothing, But when Robert Garcia says one of the best fighters in the world is no longer with me, it's pretty official. And by the way, it's amazing. You have the lowest maintenance fighter in the gym, and now Ryan Garcia, the highest maintenance. Just the irony. Here's the other question he has from the Only Sanch. When are Zurdo, Ramirez, and Benavidez going to separate themselves to earn a Canelo shot? We know Canelo will fight a Mexican that brings value. Here's the question.
I said that earlier, too. Who brings more value, Benavidez or Zurdo right now?
Benavidez based on style and activity. Not even close. Zurdo needs to do work. And in fact,
Zurdo needs to fight Bivol and maybe beat him.
Well, that's my point. You know what I wish Canelo would do if he's going to take May to fight his next fight, which is disappointing, because I heard in one interview a couple weeks ago, he said, in 2022, I want to go 4 times again. Look, maybe he's tired, maybe he's mentally shot, maybe he needs some break. Canelo, he went from saying, I'm going to fight 4 times in 2022 to then at the press conference on Saturday saying, I'll see you in May. His body, his life, his career, I respect him. He's carried the sport.
Sure.
But you know what I want him to do, though, in the meantime, then? I want him to be Commissioner Alvarez in this sense. I want him to tell guys like Bivol and Zurdo, you're not just waiting around waiting for a lottery ticket that I'm going to bequeath you. You two fight each other, and I will guarantee you the winner of that, you get $8 to $10 million. And then he would tell other guys like Benavidez, another fighter, you want to be in the sweepstakes for after that? You have to fight this guy. So he ought to really create what should be called Mexican Madness, the tournament. He should literally tell 8 fighters, if you guys go through with these fights in elimination bouts, I will guarantee you a payday, but you have to beat somebody on the way up. You're not just waiting for me. Not the worst idea, is it? He has that power.
I love the idea. He has the power, and it also proves that he continues to want to fight the best. Because he's like Elvis right now. He can fight anybody, and they'll still show up. So the fact that he still wants to do that, I think it's awesome.
Here's a question from Domingo Belliard. Canelo looks unbeatable right now, but is he basically beating C and B level fighters? To me, the last time he fought a superstar, he lost twice against Gennady Golovkin. What are your thoughts on that? I don't think they're C level. They may not be A.
He's a world champion. He just beat the world champion. These people, you can't.
All undefeated. Beat 3 of them in 11. Here's the thing.
Come on.
I think we got to be fair about this.
Hold on. Let me just interrupt you for a second. Give me one fighter, any fighter, maybe Usyk, aside from that has a resume close to Canelo's.
In the last 2 years?
Not even close.
Nobody.
Not even close. Okay, then shut up.
Here's the other thing.
You know what I mean? Then that's like I said, nobody.
Look, are these guys A-level fighters? Not necessarily. Are there any James Toney, Joe Calzaghes,
You're talking
Roy
about all-time
Jones?
grades, Kim.
No, but
you know what I'm saying? Every time the Niners play, they're not playing the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s. You know what I mean? It's just it comes in waves.
Right.
You're playing the best of what you have to. You're fighting the best of what you got to offer.
And he did it quickly. They fell like dominoes. In one hand, if it was so easy, why is no one else doing it? And here's a question from Thoughts RS, one of the real good bloggers out there, sent me a PM, wanted me to kind of ask you this. Here's a question for the next show. Which would you prefer, a pay-per-view undercard packed with more important fights but may have an action dud or two, or an undercard with fights that may have good action but are of little significance? Now, Mario, let's come clean. Our undercard this past weekend was UFC 268, and like dominoes, that delivered. The boxing pay-per-view, I'm not going to lie to you. I saw a couple of clips. I was good with it. I had no interest in watching it until Canelo literally was in the ring.
It's always about the main event when it comes to boxing. With MMA, Madison Square Garden, they were there from the first bout. And how about that first bout? Are we ready to get into that?
Let's get into final flurries. Mario, UFC 268, go.
Wow. All I got to say is bravo. That opening round, and I can't believe it was the opening fight for the pay-per-view with Michael Chandler versus Justin Gaethje.
What a brawl.
One of the best fights I've ever seen.
Oh,
seriously,
my God.
Definitely the best first round. Well, you even said,
I was like,
we're not
wow.
going to see another better fight that night.
I said that.
And that's the fight of the year. How amazing. The two guys in their physical prime came out there just to try to demolish each other. The explosive nature of the back and forth, the knock. It was awesome. Am I exaggerating?
It's like going to a great restaurant right off the bat, and they give you the filet mignon, and you're like, wow, does it get better than this? I mean, literally.
Yeah, then they hit you with some lobster.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's exactly what happened. And the rest of the card was great too, but we were treated as such a special fight right off the bat. It was unbelievable. It really was. I can't say it enough. It was just the explosive action, the back and forth. Justin Gaethje, I guess, deserved the nod. It was close, but edged him. But it was very competitive, very close. I hope they run it back, but they can't go back right away because those poor guys need a good long break. And fortunately, the timing worked out for us because we're like, hey, we're going to switch over to Canelo. But I want to see him in the ring before we switch because I wasn't going to miss the main event with Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington. And that fight delivered.
Yes.
That fight itself was amazing because Kamaru Usman, they're saying, is the best pound-for-pound fighter in the UFC right now. Colby Covington, who fought him very competitively last time, it was even going into the 5th round. This time, it was even going into the 5th round, which I was a little surprised by because Usman has been on a hot streak, has improved his striking drastically, and Colby has only had one fight since that time and was coming off of a broken jaw. Both those guys are NCAA wrestlers, so it turned into a lot of striking. Colby was able to take him down for the very first time ever.
Usman is no longer unshootable. Did he break the streak?
No, but you're talking about 2 high-level guys. Even
no,
DC,
but
an Olympic
that the
wrestler.
Stat, though? No one had ever taken him down.
He got taken down. Look, he got from his feet, lifted up, taken to his knees. Okay? That's a takedown.
That's history.
That's history. I don't care how you write it. Whether how long he held him, this or that, he took him down. And I got to tell you, after that first round, or was it the second round when he got buzzed?
Round 2, Covington looked faded. I said this fight's over.
And remember, he got dropped.
Yes.
That hard shot, but he came back.
3, 4, and 5. He rallied.
A lot of people say he won 3, 4, and 5. Very, very close. He lost a split decision. Maybe I guess I gave Usman the odd, but
Usman edged it. I thought he won.
Yeah.
Because that second round was so dominant. It really was. And
if you're going to judge it on boxing standards and give it like a 10-8, okay, then I guess you're right. But if you're doing it in typical MMA standards, it's funny. They don't do 10-8 rounds unless you literally ground and pound, and you're about to get it stopped.
Round 5 I thought was interesting.
Do you understand the difference? You're about to get it stopped as
Mario,
opposed to not.
What I thought Covington made an error was I thought he was having a real good sequence in the 5th on his feet, and then he tried to shoot Usman again.
I know.
I thought it blunted his momentum.
Dude, his boxing's good, huh? His boxing is good. His southpaw.
And Usman, as the fight went on, you could see the punch resistance fading a little bit. So I'm just wondering, Colby, why did you try to shoot him again there?
I know. I didn't like that choice in strategy, but man, it was a close fight. Both fighters who lost on that card, Chandler,
I'd like to see him again,
and Covington, I think even though they came up with L's, their stock went up.
Yes.
And they're worth more than ever. And I want to see it again. And what I liked about the whole night, MMA and boxing, all those fighters where there was a lot of heated kind of bad blood going to they were sportsmen. They were gentlemen. When you share a war like that and you're trading, you can't help but respect the guy. That made it all the better. Those guys shook hands. They hugged each other. They were great. Even Canelo and I love that. I love that.
Maury, what I found interesting was Dana White, ringside. I want to ask Dana this. Did he actually buy the pay-per-view, or was it an illegal stream he had ringside? Now, here's what's interesting. When I get
the MMA was in the background. He was watching it. Well, yeah. Did I send you the ticket that he sent me? He bet $100,000 on a Canelo knockout, and he goes, "Whoa! I thought I was going to be." I thought I was going to lose that. Yeah.
When I buy a pay-per-view, I'm always in one room, so I just watch it. I didn't realize that if you buy a pay-per-view, it's one TV and that's it. Wherever you order it from, because when we were at your house, it's the funny thing. We're in the outside area. We're watching UFC. Yeah,
because I want to smoke cigars. I want to drink.
We're having a good time. And we're monitoring it. And I said, okay, let's go to the fights now. Canelo and Plant are in the ring. We couldn't get it. But the guest house is where Donnie purchased the boxing pay-per-view.
Yeah, either Don. Yeah, I don't know if there should be a way you should switch back and forth, but we're like Fred Flintstone over there. I'm just happy we had it on.
So we walked over
the whole
to
party went over to the guest house. Hey, guest house had a big TV though, huh?
For about 45 minutes from the guest house.
That was fun though, huh?
Big screen.
Yes, and then it worked out great because we got to see
Doug Rose was on the little screen.
Small screen. Yeah, we were like Dana with the small computer screen. And then after we saw Canelo, we went outside and we
perfect timing
for the main event. That was a great night, wasn't it?
Great night of fisticuffs.
Oh, by the way, I want to give a quick shout out to my boys over at Buca de Beppo, because they hooked up the grub. Wasn't delicious. By the way, I said I want to have food delivered for 15 people. I think they misunderstood me, and they brought it for like 50 people. Everyone left, Frazier, with trays.
I got meatballs for a whole month, and their meatballs specifically, the next pound for pound list, it's got a place.
They're delicious.
That meatball is amazing.
It is.
The meatball's amazing. The chicken parm right there. I love it. So shout out to Buca de
chocolate
Beppo.
chip cookies.
The cookies are bomb
Let
with
me
the
just tell you
brainless.
something.
How good are the chocolate chip cookies?
They are Bacher's level.
Yeah.
Remember Bacher's cookies?
I love it. But yeah, to my boy Robert Earl and Sadowski,
Great job.
my girl, great job at Buca. They hooked it up.
And I love their salad. Nice tangy dressing. They did a nice job.
Yes.
Mario, this is interesting. As a parent, and you got kids now, they're getting older right before your eyes. They're going to start wanting to go out. this Travis Scott tragedy at Astral World, did it make you think with you and Courtney, like, how are we going to handle this when these kids want to start going to events of this nature?
So we had a discussion about that. First of all, my God, what a tragic. First thing I thought, because I have nieces and nephews that are young
in Houston,
and they didn't.
And they live in Houston.
Yes, exactly, bro. 8 people, young kids, some as young as 10. They literally got trampled to death.
Yes.
It's the saddest, most tragic thing. It took the whole Alec Baldwin shooting out of the headlines because, oh my God, it's just okay, I'm going to answer your question, then we're going to get back to the event. No, that reaffirmed. I'm never going to let them.
Even if it's ticketed, it's not general admission. Let's say it's like
to go to the Forum and stuff.
Right.
That's different.
It is, okay.
Yes,
all right.
if it's Forum, Staples Center, that's different. This is one of those, like, it was
Festivals,
like a festival, right?
Right.
It was like one of
Woodstock
those
kind of
festival,
thing.
and then those, sometimes they're poorly ran because it's so many people. They encourage people.
It's a mob.
Well, Travis Scott had a history, too.
Yes, that's the thing.
To kind of forget the police, forget the barricades, come on. Bro, and it was not a good look with all the video cameras now with the phones.
Yes.
Where he continued to perform for like 45 minutes afterwards. But look, failure on many levels. The organizers, the security, Travis himself should have, you know what I mean? I saw some footage of like Linkin Park calming the stage people down for way back. So the artist has the power to really. Obviously, I don't know. He saw the ambulance. I don't think he thought people were dying, but he saw at some point you see an ambulance. It's not there for a good reason. You gotta like chill and find out what's going on. Yes, they were like fentanyl on the. Dude, the thing sounds like a. Does he recover from this? You think, Frazier?
Well, at first of all, that's alleged at this point that people were pricked with needles.
Well, no, the police chief.
He said it looks like the firefighter was, but it's still alleged that other people were.
Okay.
So you don't want to just say that. Like, but I don't know.
But that's what the chief though was.
Yeah, I know he was saying that, but I mean, this is going to be tough to come back for him. I mean, they didn't shut it down. The organizers should have. They said they were afraid they might start a riot if they stopped the concert. But it's like, what are you sacrificing if you don't?
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, that's a good. I mean, here's the thing: someone's got to be liable, right? My kid dies.
There's already lawsuits.
Of course there is. It's just like this is so tragic, bro. Is this the biggest casualties at a concert ever?
No, the Vegas shooting.
Oh, that's a little different, though. That's a little different.
No, but that's different that's different because we had a crazy guy.
Yeah,
like
had nothing to do with the concert.
No, right. This was
but I mean, that's still the biggest casualty.
Correct, technically. But I'm saying just for no other reason than the fans stampeding, this has got to be it, right? I was like, what? Bro, that was 8 dead, and then there was like 300 that were like pretty badly injured.
And people were talking about. Like, this happens at soccer games in Europe. People getting pressed up against each other and cardiac arrest happening.
Oh, my God. No, never. No, Mike, so to answer your question, no. They could maybe go to, like, the Forum or Staples or something like that.
Mario, lighter note, NFL. I hate to tell people that do not like Bill Belichick. He's back.
Dude,
He's got a good young team.
I know.
I think they're a tough out for anybody. The man can coach football.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of stars, but, geez, they play well together.
Tennessee out of nowhere is looking solid.
They're still big. They're big and strong.
I'm glad my
good bounce back.
My Chargers came back.
For Herbert.
They came back nice, huh?
Yes.
That was a good bounce back.
A good bounce back.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, look, there's still a lot of things going on. Saturday, it's going to be fun. It's the first live fight in Southern California I will have been to in I can't remember the last time I went to a big card out here in Southern California.
Free drinks.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
We'll have to get there.
I will see you out there. All right, so on behalf of Mario Lopez, Smokin' Tim Frazier, Justin Buffalo Knuckles, and Tino, Little Giant Boxing, this is Steve Kim for the 3 Knockdown Rule on Triller. Goodbye, everybody.